You know what? There's a reason why insurance has in capital letters, nice and big, ongoing. So I will ask you for, we covered one time. Now we're going to talk about a few of the ongoing costs. And most of the ongoing costs, we're gonna calculate those because they're part of home ownership, right? You need to pay them on a regular basis. So the first insurance we're going to talk about is tenant insurance. Okay, and that's an insurance policy that protects people renting from loss of contents, right? Or personal belongings. It's the same thing. You should consider tenant insurance if you're renting, as it covers your belongings, and belongings are also known as perils. 47. Tenant insurance also covers you, right? Also covers you from potential liability. So let's say you leave a pan on, or you leave the oven on and a fire starts, and that fire creeps to the neighbors, right? You're liable for the damage that happened to everybody around you. Let's say you're filling your tub. Actually happened to me, but it wasn't my fault. Right? I opened the tub and my youngest was gonna take a bath, and something was broken in the tub so that some water always leaked like behind it, and our neighbors underneath us complained that water was coming down their ceiling. And if we had done something like damaged something and that's why that happened, we would have been liable for the damages. But we weren't, because it was their fault. They didn't install the tub properly. But I would have been covered if I had tenant insurance. So what I'm going to say here is, when you rent, your landlord has the insurance for the building, but not for your stuff, and also not for the potential damage you cause to your neighbor's property. So if you want your stuff to be insured, if there's a fire, last year around this time, there was a big fire in an apartment block, and a lot of people lost their stuff, right? So if you don't have tenant insurance, you're not going to be covered for that. So let's say you have a PS5, what is it, 700, 800 bucks? You have a bunch of devices, laptops, you name it, it adds up. If that's all burned and gone, like, you're not going to get it back. Okay, the landlord only insures the building, not your stuff. So I would highly recommend it. It costs about 200 bucks a year, so about $20 a month. Where do you get it? You know where your Autopack agents usually are, MPI, like those to insure your vehicle. They're usually also carrying the other insurance. Just go in there and ask how much, and they'll give you a bunch of options you can pick from. Okay. Tenant insurance is, one more time here, insurance for people renting a house or apartment. So it doesn't matter if you're renting a house or an apartment, you need your own insurance for your stuff. Okay. And here is the first table. This one is the first table that you're going to need for insurance, which, by the way, if you take your pink chart and you just open it to the second page, you see that exact same table on here. But the reason I have it in your booklet is so I can explain what everything does. Okay, so let's go back to our booklets. So the first thing I need you to look at is the fact that this says tenant insurance policy. But notice this here, this is important. It's a $500 deductible as it stands. It's a $500 deductible. You remember what a deductible is? I should probably clarify that, right? Let's write that down. Deductible is the amount you pay or are responsible for when making a claim. when making a claim. So AutoPack, like when your car insurance has deductibles, so does tenant insurance. So sorry, I'm going to read it. Is the amount you pay when making a claim. So let's say somebody breaks into my house. They smash a little side window and they get in. But they don't really take anything. For some reason, it's just not a whole lot of damage. They didn't find anything. So that's it. I come home and all I see is like the smashed window, a little window. Might cost a couple $100 to replace. If I have a $500 deductible, I'm not gonna bother making a claim because you're gonna have to pay $500 anyways, no matter what. So I wouldn't do it, right? So the deductible is kind of to prevent you from just saying, hey, I lost my AirPods, right? I lost my AirPods. Can I get new ones? Like, you're like, what? AirPods are what? $200, $300? It's not worth it making a claim. So that's what this is there for. So you don't just make a claim left, right, and center. However, if my basement floods and it's like 20, 30 grand worth of damage, are you going to be willing to pay the 500? Absolutely. It's a no-brainer, right? So it's there to prevent you from claiming just little things. Okay. The first thing you're going to need to know when you're doing insurance, you're going to have to grab one number from this orange section here. So you're going to have to pick one number from this orange section here. So I will actually say that here on the side. You must pick one. Exclamation mark. I will highlight that orange too, because if you get that right, you already get a mark, just grabbing the right number from this section here. So let me give you a scenario here. Let's say you go to the insurance here, like how much stuff do you have? I don't know. Well, do you think you have 25,000 or about that or a bit less? Well, I have less than 25 grand worth of stuff. Okay, well then you should go with this coverage. You should have coverage up to 25 grand. How much is it going to cost you? If you want a standard insurance, it's 158 per year. If you want comprehensive, it's $200 a year. And you're like, what's standard, what's comprehensive? Can I say it this way? I think this will make more sense. Basic insurance, and this is deluxe insurance, or basic package and executive package. You know what I mean? Like standard is not as good as comprehensive. So most of the time I will always go comprehensive. Like when I get insurance, I just get the one that's a bit more because it covers more. We'll get into more of that later. So if you want 25,000 and you want standard insurance, it's going to cost you this much. If you want comprehensive, it's going to cost you this much per year. So I will tell you which one this person is picking. So let's say you have up to $50,000 worth of stuff. Well, it's going to be this one, 254, or it's going to be 324. It's going to be one of those two. That's how it goes. Okay. That's for a $500 deductible. All of these prices are for a $500 deductible policy. If you want a $200 deductible, highlight that here. What do you need to do? It says increase premium by 10%. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that a different color. So what you're going to do to this number is you're going to go times 1.10. That's how you add 10% to anything. Okay. And there's one more thing you need to be aware of, which is new insurance is taxed PST, which is 7%. That's a newer thing. I'm guessing the government ran out of ways to make money. So they're like, hey, let's tax something that everybody has to get, insurance. All right, let's do it, right? That's probably how it went down. Netflix, all the streaming services, they were not taxed for a while, and then they were like, wait a minute, right? Let's tax it. And so now that's why your premium went up. So that's where you go times 1.07 at the end, right? So 10% to get to a $200 deductible, and then 7% if you want to add taxes to it. Why would somebody want to go from a $500 to a $200 deductible? Well, think about it. If you go with a $200 deductible, you pay less when you make a claim, correct? Think about it that way. You pay less when you make a claim. That's why they charge you more throughout the year. So it's kind of like, do you want to pay now or do you want to pay later? You know what I mean? So I personally always stick with a higher deductible because I only want to use it if I really have to. I don't want to pay the extra to go for a $200 deductible. That's me. Okay. In fact, my house, that's where this is a little dated. I have $1,000 deductible on my house because I don't want to make a claim unless it's bad, right? So, and it's cheaper. Your premium therefore goes down. Is there anything else I want to say here? Oh yeah. What color? I'm not going to highlight. I'm just going to talk about this one because I don't want to. This chart maxes out at 75,000. Let's put max here. Arrow. This is the maximum coverage that this table has numbers for. But do you think there are people that have worth more than 75,000 in their home? Oh yeah. So for each additional $1,000 of coverage, right, you would either pay $450 or $550, right, for each $1,000. So these two numbers will come in later. Okay. For each additional $1,000, you have to pay $450 or $550. So keep that in mind. This is I'm going to call this overage. Like if you're going over, I'm going to call that overage. I have no other words to refer to it, so I just made one up. Okay. All right. So students, I used to teach this without a formula. And students were like, give me a formula, please. I was like, no, you got to just figure it out. And then they were like, I get it, but I want the formula. We want the formula. So they almost went on strike, and I was like, okay, fine. Here's your formula. But it's going to be scary. They're like, I don't care. Just give me a formula. It's scary at first, but I promise you, if you pay attention to what each part does, this is going to make your lives a lot easier. You just have to follow along, guys. That's all you have to do. Follow along, right? So watch. Insurance is the table rate. What is that table rate? It's the orange. So if you highlight it, must pick one, whatever color you use for this, that's the one I will highlight. I'll say, hey, that's the table rate. You're going to get a number. You must have this. There's no way around it. Okay. And then this one is dollars over 75,000. Right? That's what this number will represent. How many dollars of coverage are you above the 75,000? And then this will be 450 or 550. This one, right? Cost per $1,000 of extra coverage. That'll be 450 or 550. That's what it is. Only for tenant insurance, that is. Okay. And why are there these big, scary square brackets here? Because you have to clean this up before you go times 1.10 if it's a $200 deductible, or times 1.07 if you want to add tax. You first have to clean this mess up. Okay. Now, I wish I could animate this, but I can't. Okay. This part The 1.10 is only going to be if the question asks for a $200 deductible. If the question doesn't ask for a $200 deductible, you will do this. You will omit it. Like that step should not be part of your equation, right? If the question says before tax, like give me the premium before tax, you would also omit that one. Okay. If it says after tax, sure, multiply that by 1.07. Before tax, don't do it. If this question says, you know, you want that $200 deductible policy, you will have to add 10% to make that happen. Okay. This is the step where you increase whatever you get here by 10% in order to have a $200 deductible. Okay. So if it's a $500 deductible, boom, you omit that. You do not do it. Okay. So that's how this one works. And why does it say do this first? Because the square brackets tell you got to work with inside first, but I would first clean this up. And then I would add it to whatever number I got here. Okay. So a bit scary, but practice is the way to go on this one. So follow me here. Joan rents an apartment and wishes, oh, that's important, rents. Right? It doesn't matter if you rent a house or rent an apartment, it's renting. So we're tenant insurance territory. Tomorrow we'll do home insurance. And you want to buy $65,000 worth of insurance. Is standard important for us? Is that word important? Yeah, because it's standard or comprehensive, so that's important. Standard. There's a $500 deductible. I hope that is important to us as well. So now it's saying, what is her annual insurance premium after tax? All of these are yearly, so you don't have to worry about any, like it's always going to be annually or yearly amounts. So here we go. Have the formula ready. I will go like this. Insurance. Let's put that big square bracket there. The table rate, we must pick one. So grab your pink chart and let's try to figure out how we would even do that. So grab this. Let's see, 65,000. I'm going to go along the side here to 65, stop right there. Right, that's what it says. And then it says standard. So you're in the standard column. So you just match those two, right? So this is the number we're going to have to pick in this case because it's standard and 65,000. And naturally, everything in here is for $500 deductible, so we're kind of okay here as well. So take the 315. And you know what? I'm just going to do this for this one example. Dollars per thousand, like this. Are we going to have to worry about going over? We're not going past 75. We're within this. So this part you can just omit. So I'm just gonna say, okay. You just omit that. Like just forget about that whole thing. Like you don't need to worry about that. It makes it very easy actually. And I'm gonna still pretend like my formula is with me here, the entire thing. Do I need to worry about this step, the 1.10? It asks for a $500 deductible, not a $200 deductible. So you can just omit this as well. Not asking for $200 deductible. That's all I'm going to say there. Does it want me to add taxes? It says after tax. So this stays. This part stays. We are going to add taxes. So now let's clean it up. The 315 is basically just 315. There's nothing else. So we can remove the square brackets now. And anything else that remains is just times 1.07. Okay, so this would be before tax. We're going to figure out after tax. So take your calculator. 315 times 1.07. So there it is. 337.05 per year. This policy, right? Coverage, 65 grand, right? $500 deductible. Standard after tax. So you're fulfilling all these requirements. Just like that. This is an easier one. We'll do the one that has overage, that has this annoying part here. I wish there would be an easier way to do it. If you come up with an easier way, tell me, okay? We'll copyright it, make sure it's yours, right? And then we'll just get you some compensation there somehow. We'll just pass along a hat or something. And we'll compensate you for the help. Okay, so here we go. Ready for this one? Dimitri is currently renting, because tomorrow we'll mix it up with owning. So renting an apartment, and you'd like to purchase insurance to cover contents of his apartment. He estimates, right? He has about $90,000 worth of stuff, of belongings. Okay. He would like to purchase comprehensive insurance. That should also ring a bell. Comprehensive versus standard, right? And you want a $200 deductible. It doesn't say anything about tax. Okay, so I will say this: determine the annual premium after tax. Make sure you write this down so you know why we added the taxes there. Okay, so you can't see the formula. Can we write it down? I want to write it down, just a short version of it. Table rate plus overage. And the way you do this part here, guys, you can just go a dollar amount per thousand, square brackets, times 1.10 times 1.07. That's the formula. Write it down. So, and I'm going to zoom into that now, to that question, so we can just use the formula. Remember I told you you must pick a number from the table? Go get your free mark. Let's go do that. Let's go find our free mark. Let's get this one out of the way. So you go get your table. I'll take it away in a bit, so if you're still copying. So we want 90,000, right? So that's a problem. So you go all the way down to the highest you can possibly get, which is 75,000, right? Was this comprehensive or standard? I forgot already. Oh yeah, it's comprehensive. So you're gonna go to the max. You're gonna go over to comprehensive, and you're gonna write down the 454. And then we're gonna have to pay 550 extra for every 1,000 we're over this amount. Okay, so let's write down 454. Your free mark right there. plus how many thousands of dollars are we over if you compare 90 to 75,000? Do some mental math there. 15,000, right? 15,000 over, but I'm going to show you how to come up with that. Over it, you go 90,000 minus, I'm going to use a red pen because it's always going to be 75,000. That's the max that this table has. So that's $15,000. And this number is what you put down here. 15,000. Hold on, we're not done yet, right? You're not going to pay 15,000, guys. That's like, please don't do that. Like some students just put down 15,000. It's like, yeah, my yearly premium is going to be 15,454. It's like, I don't know. I wouldn't be buying insurance if that were the case, right? What goes in here? Watch this. It's right. You pay $550 for every extra 1,000 of additional coverage. So you're basically saying, right, if $550 per 1,000, then let's figure out how much extra would be for 15 grand. That's what you're doing here. Okay, we're not done yet. Let's keep going. It's a $200 deductible, right? So this will stay. This part stays. And we want it after taxes. So we have to keep this part of the formula as well. So this is a $200 deductible. And this is tax. So check, check, like we're keeping that. So this is as complicated as this will ever get, this question here. It's as complicated as it will ever get. So I jumped right in there and made your life difficult, right? You know what? It's okay to get it wrong today. If you try this, honestly, if you try it, you plug stuff and you get it wrong, not even tomorrow, you're still learning, but I want you to try. So remember I said try this first. Do first. Let's highlight that. Can I write down under the 75? Do you mind if I just do this? Like that's your max, the maximum amount that shows up on your table. That's why the 75 is there. So let's do this part here. Slow down, Mr. Dirksen. You do this all the time. This is our first time. Go ahead. I'm going to slow down a bit. Write it down. Do what you need. We're good? So 15,000 times 550 divided by 1,000. That is more reasonable, isn't it? Right? Paying another $82 to cover that extra 15,000 you want coverage for, that makes a bit more sense. Okay, so let's do it. Let's clean that up. So we're going to go 454 plus 8250. Don't be tempted to jump to the finish line, right? Just take your time, clean that up. Times 110 times 1.07, that stays. So now you grab your calculator. I still have this on it. I'm just going to go plus 454. Now you can get rid of the square brackets because you've boiled it down to just one number. Times 110 times 1.07. Before we do the finale here, okay, what if I had stopped there? If I would just come up with 536.50, what would that be? What deductible is this at right now? It's either 5 or 200. This is 500 still because we haven't added the 10%. Okay, so it's a $500 deductible before taxes. Okay, guys, 500 before taxes. So if you do that, it turns into a $200 deductible. If you do that, you add taxes. That's how this works. Isn't that beautiful? I don't know about that. You're taking it a step too far, Mr. Dixon. That's just not right. Beautiful is not what I would call this. Okay. 631.46 is your final. That's a lot of money, actually. But you're also insuring a lot of stuff. So maybe you're collecting things. I don't know. They're expensive. Maybe you have lots of jewelry, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, so go ahead. So here it is, guys. Page 53. You're doing questions 1 to 3 only because the other ones are not. The other ones are not renting. Okay, they're actually owning a home. So that I don't want you to do today because this is all you can take right now, I think. So go for it. I will post the key within seconds. Okay, and we'll just leave it at that.